Okay, brilliant. So some of it's familiar. This is when you'll probably need your belt lying down. So we're going to do just some familiar tilting our knees. And then one thing I thought we would try, this would be quite fun, because I struggle to explain this when you're in my living room, let alone online, this one. But maybe if you look at me, the one so you're pointing your toes towards you and away from you, rocking your body on the floor. So we'll try this one. And then from here, we'll fold in one knee, we'll bend the other one, we'll do a little bit of circling. This is where you'll need your belt. We'll do a bit of lengthening the leg out. I'll talk you through all of this. I'm just showing you a bit of this. And then coming to this one. Okay. So yeah, so that's the little sequence we'll be doing on the floor. So lie down and I will start to talk you into it. And yeah, I had this little theme for today, which was about, well, it's a theme for every day with yoga, which is about really feeling ourselves at each moment. And then I got a little bit carried away and we did some more exciting things, which perhaps sometimes take us away from that. So just start lying down onto your backs and settling down and arriving. So yeah, lie down, make yourselves comfortable, either with your knees bent or your legs long. And yeah, so that's settling and arriving. The settling and arriving on your backs. And so I suppose, yeah, maybe the first thing to do would just be to see, what do you feel when you lie down? And so it depends a bit. If we've got any injuries, or something's feeling a bit stiff or achy, then we might feel that quite immediately. So it's like lying down, what do you feel? What do you feel in your body? And we get more feedback from our body when our body's moving. So maybe the first thing you could do is let your head start to roll a little bit to the right and a little bit to the left, and see how that feels. So it's a little movement, the movement of easing our head from side to side on the floor. But even this little movement starts to give us a bit of feedback. So as your head's rolling from side to side, how does it feel? How does the back of your head feel on the floor as it rolls from side to side? How does your neck feel? How do your shoulders feel? So just a couple more times. I'm sorry, the bin lorry is just arriving here, so it might be noisy for a moment. And then let your head come to rest. Find a comfortable place in the center where you can settle the center of the back of your head down on the floor. And then if your legs are long, you're going to bend your knees and stand your feet on the floor. And see how it then feels to start to tilt your knees to the right and to the left. So we do this one a lot. And there's benefits to familiar things. It can help us just to sort of arrive by thinking, oh yes. Often at the beginning of yoga class, most days we let our knees tilt from side to side. But also sometimes we can zone out a bit if we're doing something very familiar. So just really, as much as you can, try to feel, how does your body feel today as you do this simple movement? How do you feel in your hip joints? How do you feel around the back of your pelvis? How do you feel into your lower back? Good. And then just settle in the center for a moment, and you can keep your knees bent. Rashmi, you could probably have your feet slightly wider apart. Might be, that's it, brilliant, good. And just for a couple of breaths, bring your hands to rest on the front of your body. So if you bring your hands to rest on the front of your body, you can gather your attention into your breathing and see if you can feel the middle of yourself, your belly, your ribs, wherever your hands are. See if you can feel that part of yourself responding to your breathing. And so sometimes in yoga, we actively bring our attention to our breath, to feel our breath. It's another way of feeling ourselves. And sometimes it happens automatically. We'll be in a place, in a pose, in a movement, and we suddenly feel the movement of our breath. So perhaps we'll be aware of that as we go through this class. And then what I'd like you to do from here is try this funny movement where we lengthen our legs out on the floor. And you're rocking yourself on your heels. So you're pointing, so if you lengthen your legs out, that's it. And it does probably work better if your heels are on your mat. That's it. So you've lengthened your legs out and then you're pointing your toes away from you and towards you quite quickly. So you're trying to sort of rock yourself a little bit on your heels. That's it, Sarah. And you keep doing this. Yeah, that's it. Good. Very nice. Yes, got a great picture of Nigel's feet. Oh, so if you're rocking yourself on your heels, your legs are long. I'm thinking, Helen, it looks like your knees are still bent there, or is that your feet I can see?
No,
It's your feet.
My feet.
Your feet, okay. It's always interesting in these Zoom things. I get confused about what bit of someone's body it is. So when you're doing that, rocking yourself on your heels, it's like you're sending this sort of, I suppose, a bit of force up through your body. You might feel it, yes, into your neck and shoulders. Very nice. Good. And then from there, what I'd like you to do is just let the legs rest. And then on an out breath, you're going to fold your right knee into your chest. And have a couple of breaths holding around either the back of that thigh or the top of your knee. So we're thinking about folding that knee in towards the chest as much as possible. Let the foot relax. Very nice. And then you're going to bend the left knee and stand the left foot on the floor. Good. So your foot comes to stand on the floor, maybe a bit closer to your bottom, Rashmi, I think. That's it, good. And then from there, you're going to take your right leg up towards the ceiling and you can support your leg with your hands around the back of your thigh and just give your leg a bit of a shake out. And you're also going to circle your ankle and see how that feels. So again, it's just about how does it feel when you take your leg up? And Nigel, if it feels really unpleasant, then don't stay there too long. And then from here, you're going to fold that leg back in towards you. And this is when you need your belt or your scarf, because you're now going to lengthen your leg up towards the up again, but you're going to loop your belt or your scarf around the ball of your foot. Good. And it's really helpful if you can hold with a straight arm. Yeah. So we're trying to lengthen. I'll get too sort of prescriptive about this, but we're trying to let the back of the knee open and we're trying to let the arm, it works best if the arm is straight, but the shoulder is resting back on the floor. But you know, we're obviously having to make do with scarves and things, so to your best ability. And then from here, see how it feels to lengthen your left leg out on the floor. And you might need to give yourself a bit more slack in that belt, possibly. Because what you're going to then have a little play around with is rocking. So that's it. You can now lengthen your left leg out on the floor. That's it. Good. And then you're going to have a little play around with rocking that right leg from side to side a little bit. And you could circle it a little bit. See if you can let your knee, the back of your knee open. So Rashmi, see if your leg, that's it, can be a bit straighter rather than bending. Good. So we're trying to feel the leg moving in the hip joint. So it could be rocking side to side. It could be circling a little bit. Yeah. Good. Very nice. So hopefully when you're doing this, one of the reasons I wanted to do this is usually there's something very, very clear to feel. And it's usually tightness in the back of the leg. Okay. So so usually we can be quite sort of present and feel our bodies when we're doing this. When you've had enough, you're going to bring that foot down to stand on the floor and just put your belt to your side for a moment. And then what we're going to do is that movement where we press into the right foot. So we press into that standing foot and we let our pelvis lift on the right side and tilt towards the left. That's it, Rashmi. You want to look at your mum, because you don't, that's it, good. You don't want your pelvis to lift on the left. You just want it to lift on the right. So you press into your standing foot, you send your knee forwards over your foot. Nigel, your foot could be a bit more parallel, I think. Just look at, that's it, yeah, yeah. Possibly a little bit more out to the side. I've got a very good view of your foot here, I'm afraid. So good. So how does it feel several times to press into your standing foot, let the right side of the pelvis come away from the floor. So what we feel now is we're opening out through the front of the right hip joint. So again, it's quite a different feeling to when we had the leg up in the air. But just once or twice more on this side, pressing into your right foot. Make sure your left leg is long on the ground, yes. I was getting confused with your foot and your knee again, Helen, but I can now I know. Good. And then what I'd like you to do for a moment is you could either bend both knees, lengthen both legs out. You could even fold both knees into your chest. So just whatever, yeah, whatever feels good for you right now. And just come back for a couple of breaths to seeing if you can feel your breath in your body. So it might be with your hands on the front of your body. It might be that your breathing feels a little bit clearer to you without your hands on your body. So let a breath come in, let a breath leave you. And then when you're ready, you're going to fold your left knee into your chest. So keep your right leg long. Most of you have got long legs. So the right leg is long on the ground. The left knee's folded into your chest. That's it. Well done, Sheena. Good, good. Have a couple of breaths there. And then you're going to bend your right knee and stand your right foot on the floor. Oh, so then keep the left knee folded into your chest, Nigel, sorry.
No, my hip's complaining.
Oh, it's your hip, oh, you're having a little breather, that's fine. Yeah, so do that whenever you need to. So the rest of you, that's it, left knee folded into you, right foot standing on the floor. You're going to, first of all, without the belt, you're going to lengthen your left leg towards the ceiling. So you can give your leg a little bit of a shake out. You can also support your leg with your hands around the back of your thigh or the back of your knee. And you can do a little bit of circling into your ankles. So I always like this one. Again, strange noise. Again, I can always feel quite a lot going on. And then my ankles always feel quite stiff. And I like that movement. So again, it can be just helpful for getting us to feel ourselves. And then let your leg come back down again. That's, yeah, shaking out's good. See. Let your leg come back down again. Have a breath or so. Let a breath come in, let a breath leave you. And then you're going to lengthen your leg up with the belt. And or the scarf or whatever it is you're using. So again, on this side, if you have got a belt, it's a good idea to have a loop that you can hold into with your left hand. And the loop is the right size that your arm can be straight and the leg can be straight. We have a few breaths here. And so again, this is about, we can probably feel the back of the leg. There's a bit of a stretch there as we're asking the back of the leg to lengthen. We could also slap out the muscles a bit in the front of the thigh because we're trying to get those muscles to relax. And then you could lengthen your right leg out on the floor. And you're going to then see how does it feel to rock your leg, your raised leg. Good, so we've got the left leg up towards the ceiling, the knees fairly straight. We're rocking the leg from side to side. We could be circling the leg. Again, it's really nice here if you can be led by what feels helpful, what feels interesting in your body. So we're trying to let the back of the knee open, those sort of dusty corners of us that maybe don't see the light of the day, Very nice, good. And yes, and when you've had enough, exactly right, Rashmi, you bring that foot to stand on the floor and you put your belt away. So we probably don't need the belts for the rest of the class. So you can bring your left foot to stand on the floor, your right leg is long. You're going to start that movement of pressing into your left foot, letting the pelvis lift on your left side, letting your pelvis tilt towards the right. So make sure your foot is standing on the floor completely, Rashmi. It looks like your heels come up. That's it. Good. So standing, planting your left foot on the floor. As you exhale, press into your left foot. Send your knee forwards over your footprint. Thank you, Aditi. That looks very good. Lovely. So a few times doing this movement of pressing into your left foot, letting your pelvis lift on the left side, feeling that you're opening through the front of your left hip joint. So a very different feeling to having the leg long, to opening the back of the leg. Just perhaps once or twice more. And then from here, I would like you to, I don't think I said this in my demonstration, but I'd like you to do is bend both knees. Yeah, you could lengthen both legs out for a moment if you want to. I'd like both knees bent and both feet standing on the floor. And just a couple of times, you're going to see how does it feel to sink into both footprints and roll up and down through bridge pose. And as you're rolling up into bridge pose with both feet on the floor, just, yeah, how does your spine come away from the floor? And you're not pushing it, but you're just noticing, yeah, how far up does your spine come up? What do you notice in your spine? How does it feel? As you place your spine back down on the floor, how does the lower back feel? Again, using the movement to help us feel our bodies. Good. And when you've done, that's very nice, lovely. When you've done a couple of bridge poses, you can then fold your knees into your chest. Nigel, you might not want to fold your knees into your chest. So, yes, maybe, yeah. So I was going to get you to do a little bit of rocking from side to side here with your knees. Well, you've got two options actually. You can either rock from side to side with your knees folded into your chest, or Nigel, you might find it nicer to bring your feet back to the floor and cross your elbows over your chest and rock to side in that way. So anyone else, if you prefer to do that one. So with your feet standing on the floor and you've crossed your arms over your chest and you're rocking side to side. But you could equally, some of you might be quite nice with your knees folded into your chest. So rocking side to side, that's nice. And as you're rocking side to side, feel that you're giving yourself a bit of a massage. That's it, Sarah. So make sure you're rocking across your upper back as well. Good. Very nice. And you're going to rock all the way onto your side eventually, and have a few breaths on your side, and then we're going to come over into standing. So rock onto your side, have a few breaths there. Don't be in a hurry because we've been on our backs for a while. As you're raring to go. It's a lovely sunny morning. So coming up into standing, arriving on your mats. Once you've got here, maybe taking a moment just to look down at your feet, seeing your feet on the floor. letting yourself settle in standing. We might just do a little bit of swaying from side to side to help us arrive. So again, just like when we're on our back, there's always a little bit of clunking as we turn around. I think it's usually when people adjust their devices. So if it gets very noisy, I will mute you all, but I imagine it will settle once you're standing. So yes, when you're in standing, just a bit of swaying from side to side. So what we're trying to do is feel our feet on the floor to help us arrive in standing. So maybe just, you could close your eyes now, and again, a little bit of shifting your weight over your right leg, over your left leg, feeling the right foot on the floor, feeling the left foot on the floor. And then seeing if you can settle down with weight dropping as evenly as possible through the two footprints. And then opening your eyes, and we're going to come to this one, is loose, easy swinging twist. So this, and when we're doing this, again, it's about trying to feel our whole body in movement. So we can be slapping our hands onto ourselves. So that's another good way to feel ourselves. If you slap your hands onto your body, you can both feel it in the hands and the body. Good. Very nice. And then we're going to do some of these, I'm very into at the moment, these sort of side lengthening movements. Anyone who was in class last week would have probably realised. So settling in standing, we're going to take the arms up and we're going to be reaching into one arm and then the other. But as you're reaching, you're also shifting your weight from side to side. So there's this feeling of lengthening out through the whole of the side of the body. Reach up with the left arm, reach up with the right arm, weight into the right foot. Oh. And obviously, if this doesn't work for your shoulders or your lower back or anything like this, we're going to come from here into a forward bend. So from here, you're going to sweep your way down into a forward bend. If your lower back needs some support, bend your knees, rest your elbows on your thighs. See how this forward bend feels. First one of the day. And just adjust, just as you need to. Your knees can be quite bent. Let your head be heavy and floppy. And your arms. Have a big exhalation down there. And then you're going to roll back up on an out breath, sinking into your heels, keeping your head and your arms heavy until you end up back in standing. And we're going to go back into that same reaching up movement. So reaching up one arm, and then the other, and then this time we'll take it a little bit further, so you can reach up through your right arm and then catch your left hand around your right wrist, and so you're drawing yourself up and over to the left, and again my weight is really in my right leg and foot, and then swap sides, reach up through the left, catch your right hand around your left wrist, shift your weight into your left leg and foot. Good, really lengthening through the side of the body. Come back to the center, breathe in, exhale, sweep down into a forward bend. You can do your little weeping willow movements, trailing your fingers around the front of your feet, to the right and to the left if you like. So this again, if you think about in these ones, that you're pretty much leaving your pelvis over your heels, and it's very much your arms and your upper body from the waist up that's moving from side to side. That's very nice, good. Just feeling sort of loose and fluid as much as possible, as much as our bodies allow. Little by little, we start to undo. And then pause in the middle, and we're going to roll back up into standing. So let a breath come in, exhale, sink into your heels, rolling back up into standing. So we're going to see now how it feels to, we'll do this a couple of times, how it feels to bring our weight all the way onto one foot now. So start to reach up through your right arm. And let your left arm be heavy and floppy. So as we reach into the right arm, we're shifting our weight more and more into the right foot. So my left heel has now come off the floor. And then from here, what I'd like you to do is see if you can pick up your left foot and stand it on your right foot. And then at this point, you could bring both hands down to your prayer pose. So you're not trying to go into tree pose or anything like that at the moment. You're just standing your left foot on your right and seeing how it feels to be in this little mini balance. And it's fine if you start to wobble and you need to bring your foot onto the floor, that's fine. Just, yes, when we come to balances, what do we feel? What we normally feel is the foot on the floor shifting. It's not going to be fixed. You know, the foot is made up of all these bones and muscles. It's not going to feel like a block of solid wood, hopefully. Come down, have a little shake out. Let's try the same thing on the other side. So settle both feet on the floor, hip width apart and parallel. Start to reach up through your left arm. Start to shift your weight into your left leg and foot. So the right arm's heavy and floppy. You can let your left heel come up. So that your right heel come up, not your left heel, sorry. The right heel comes up. So the right foot's becoming very light. And then it feels perhaps easier to let the foot come up completely and stand on the right foot. And then both hands into prayer pose. How does it feel? And again, if you need to have some toes on the floor, that's absolutely fine. Other things we can feel in the balance is this: can we soften the shoulders? Good. Let the foot stay steady enough that we don't fall over. And then come down, have a little shake out. Shake out your arms and your legs. And we're going to do that balance again, but this time what we'll do, I'll just show you, this time we will, once we've taken our arm up, we'll catch the top of the foot. So we'll either catch the top of the foot or you'll catch your trouser leg. So, or you could use your belt and loop it around your foot, but sometimes that makes it tricky to balance, to be honest, because you're trying to negotiate a belt as well. So let's take the right arm up again. Let's reach up through that right arm. Let's start to shift the weight into the right leg and foot. So the left heel comes up. So what we're thinking about is I was trying to erase that feeling of the left foot on the floor. So what we're feeling is the right foot on the floor, and then it becomes easier to pick the left foot up. And from here, you're going to bring your hand down to your breastbone and just settle for a breath or two. And it's fine again if you fall out, it's not a problem. Very nice, Elaine. I've got a lovely view of you here. Well done. Got to let that put you off. Seeing if you maybe with your hand on your breastbone can feel your chest responding to your breathing. Very nice. And what we can feel as we stay in a balance longer is the muscles of the standing leg start to make themselves known. Maybe around the hip joint, maybe into the calf. Good. Obviously coming down when you need to. But again, yes, there's something about as we stay in a balance and the muscles start to shout a little bit, that anchors us into our body. So settle down again, feet hip width apart and parallel. Last side of this little balance, reaching the left arm up, letting your weight shift onto your left leg. So again, we can try and have this feeling that really feeling the left foot on the floor, and the right foot becomes a bit more invisible in our sense of feeling ourselves. So we can pick it up, we can catch the top of the foot, we can catch our trouser leg, we can bring our hand onto our breastbone, and then see what we feel. Can we feel that the right knee is dropping towards the floor? Can we feel our shoulders are relaxed? Can we notice what we feel in the left foot and the left leg? The muscles are starting to feel a little bit more, perhaps protesting, they're working a little harder to keep us balancing. In your own time, you're going to come down and have a little shake out. So yes, just give everything a bit of a shake out. We're going to come into a sequence now from the back of the mat that will take us down onto hands and knees. We'll come back to some more balancing a bit later. So yes, come to the backs of the mat, back of your mat. And so feet hip width apart and parallel. Have a look at your feet. And we're just going to settle here for a moment. So feet hip width apart and parallel, hands coming into prayer pose, so like we would for sun salute. And then just take a little quiet moment, closing your eyes, seeing if you can feel your footprints on the ground. Can you feel the contact of your hands in prayer pose or Anjali Mudra? And then from here, you're going to open your eyes. You're going to let a breath come in. As you exhale, take your arms down and then up. Drop your shoulders down away from your ears. And then as you exhale again, rolling down into a forward bend. And so from this forward bend, you're going to walk your hands forwards into dog pose. And just see how this dog feels. I might come and just have a little quick look at you. So don't worry if your heels come up. Good. Very nice. Let your heads go. We will obviously be doing more dog pose. So if this one feels a bit stiff, don't worry. And then from your dog pose, you're going to come down onto hands and knees. And so settle yourself on hands and knees with your hands under your shoulders and your knees under your hip joints. And we're going to come to some of our cat movements, rounding our back, dipping our spine. And seeing how these movements feel. So how does it feel when you let your belly soften down to the floor so your spine can dip? How does it feel when you round your back to the ceiling? You let your head hang, you let the back of your body lengthen out. So do these a few more times. And one of the key points in trying to feel ourselves is that we then don't do anything damaging. We don't do anything that brings discomfort into our body. We might feel things releasing, we might feel things lengthening or stretching a bit, but we don't want to feel pain. A couple more times, rounding and dipping. So sometimes when we're dipping in cat, this is where we just need to be aware that we don't want to do too much if the lower back is feeling a bit vulnerable. And then I'd like you to also do a little bit of tail wagging on hands and knees. So imagining you've got a tail and wagging your tail from side to side. You can be a dog, you can be a fish. And I suppose I was just thinking then about how dogs show their happiness by one of their ways is by wagging their tails. So yeah, it would be nice if it was a happy movement for us as well. So again, make sure it feels good in your body. If your lower back is feeling tight, you could be rounding your back a bit to wag your tail. Okay, and then what I'd like you to do is from hands and knees, we're going to come into lunge on each side. So you're going to step 1 foot forwards. So in lunge, your knee is over your heel, that front foot is planted down. Your toes can be tucked under or flat in your back leg. And you could, if you wanted to here, so to see how it feels for a couple of breaths. Lunge is quite obvious, we feel the stretch through the front of the back leg thigh. We could ease in and out of it a bit. So if you have your back foot flat, you could let yourself rock back a bit, keeping your chest close to your front leg thigh. And you could let yourself rock back into lunge. Yeah, so easing back, you look back towards your back foot. And then coming back into lunge, which is where we feel that stretch through the front of the back leg. So you don't have to do this, but it can be quite nice to come in and out of it. Good. In a moment, we're going to swap sides on lunge. So you could step into dog to do this if you wanted to, or you could do it on hands and knees. We are going to be coming into another dog in a moment, so it's entirely up to you. So from hands and knees, either going into dog or just on hands and knees, swapping your foot over so you've got your other foot forwards in lunge. And so when you end up in lunge, just arriving there, again, I think we can feel ourselves very clearly in lunge, and what we feel, certainly what I feel, is just this big stretch here. And then we could add a bit of movement in, keeping the chest close to the thigh, rocking forwards into lunge, we look forwards, coming back onto our front heel, keeping the chest close to the thigh, looking back. So the back rounds a bit like in cat there, and the spine flattens out a little bit here. And then again, maybe it would be quite nice to come into, so we're going to go into child pose in a moment. It would be quite nice to come into a dog pose. So you can either step into dog from lunge by planting your hands down, or from hands and knees, plant your hands down, tuck your toes under, rock your hips back over your heels, and see how it feels to come into dog pose from the floor. Have a couple of breaths here. So in dog pose, again, there's lots of things to feel. The backs of the legs, the shoulders, is the head hanging? Maybe just a couple of 2 or 3 breaths in this dog, because then I would like you to fold down into child. And we'll be coming into another dog in a moment. So fold down into child pose, feel your forehead on the floor. And yeah, let your elbows rest on the floor. Lovely. Let the breath come in, let the breath leave you. So child pose is a place, that's it, Rashmi, I think that's better with the arms there. Child pose is a place where we can come to our breathing. Sometimes we just start to feel our breath here. Other times we can actively bring our attention to our breath. See what does it feel like when we breathe in? What does it feel like when we breathe out? We're then going to come back onto hands and knees, and we're going to come from plank pose into dog pose and then into a forward bend. So make sure, maybe when you come onto your mat, onto hands and knees, just lengthen one leg and then the other leg out behind you, because this will give you a good sense of whether you can on your mat for plank pose. So we want to have our shoulders over our wrists, and then we lengthen one leg back. This is really good when we're trying to feel ourselves. We're trying to feel ourselves in this long straight line. Our pelvis is neither going up to the ceiling nor down to the floor. And we might well feel our abdominal muscles working quite hard to support the pelvis in place. And then from here, you can exhale, you can send your hips up and back into dog. Now, it's quite a long dog pose, so you might want to walk your feet in a little, if you like. It's entirely up to you. Have a few breaths in this dog pose, and then we're going to be walking the hands in towards the feet, into a forward bend. So walk your hands all the way towards your feet. Let your head go. And then we're going to roll into standing, touching the backs of the hands together. So touch the backs of the hands together. Roll up into standing. You're going to trail your hands straight up the front of the body, straight up to the ceiling. Drop your shoulders, breathe in, so your arms are wide, and then a big circle, exhale all the way down to here. Okay, so come, if you're not at the back of your mat, come to the back of your mat. We're going to go down to the floor again, but do something a bit different. So we start off the same and we'll finish the same. So here, let a breath come in. As you exhale, take your arms down and then up. What I'd like you to do just here before we go into the forward bend is come back to a little bit of reaching. Reaching and lengthening through the sides of the body. And then from that lengthening, rolling down into a forward bend. Have a breath or two in your forward bend. Feel yourself there. And then walking your hands forwards into dog pose. Have a few breaths. Let your heels come up if they want to. Try and let your shoulders soften as much as possible. And then come back down onto hands and knees. And on this hands and knees, we're going to visit cat pose again. And then we're going to take cat pose a little bit further. So on hands and knees, see how it feels to come back to some rounding and dipping in your cat. And just letting your breath flow in and out as it wants to. And then what I'd like you to do on hands and knees is tuck your toes under, round your back to the ceiling and rock your hips back over your heels. And then you're going to walk your hands a little bit further forwards on the floor. Not too much. Stay, keep rounded. And then as you exhale, you're going to travel forwards, rounding your back. So you're looking at your pelvis as your pelvis moves forwards. And we're going to come all the way forwards into face up dog. And then we're going to untuck the toes, let a breath come in. And then we're going to reverse that movement. So tuck the toes under, round your back to the ceiling, rock your hips back over your heels. And then try coming forwards again. If your hands weren't quite in the right place, you might need to adjust them. Mine weren't quite far forwards enough. So as you exhale, round your back to the ceiling, travel forwards, looking at your pelvis, till your shoulders are over your hands, and then you can untuck your toes, you can arrive in face up dog, you can let a breath come in. So one more time, we'll reverse that again, tuck the toes under, rounding the back to the ceiling, coming back, and then once more into face up dog on an exhalation, rounding the back all the way forwards. How does it feel? And from here, you're going to keep your feet flat this time and rock your hips back over your heels into child pose. And let your arms rest, let your wrists rest. Very nice face up dogs. Beautiful. Rashmi, you're getting the long lockdown hair, aren't you? So, looks very nice. So a couple of breaths in, a couple more breaths in child pose. And then again, we're going to come through plank pose and dog pose into a forward bend. If you feel that before you come into plank, you want to just sit up in kneeling for a moment, so you could be in down kneeling, or if kneeling is more challenging, Nigel, you could come up into this kneeling, and just bring the backs of your hands together, okay? Because we're doing a little bit on our wrists, so it's probably quite good to bring them the other way around. So, once you've done that, make sure you're far enough forwards on your mat for plank pose. You've got your shoulders over your wrists. You're going to lengthen one leg back, really tucking your toes under, sending your heels away, trying to feel that your pelvis is neither dropping down to the floor like in face up dog, nor is sticking up to the ceiling like in dog. And then we will go into dog from here. So exhaling, sending the pelvis up and back. And then if you want to, maybe walking the feet in a little bit until it feels like a good dog pose. Have a few breaths there. Bend your knees as much as you like. And then walking the hands into the feet. So we end up in a forward bend. Let the head go. Feel all of the weight in your feet. And then as you exhale, we're going to touch the backs of the hands together. We're going to roll up into standing, taking our hands up the front of our body, straight up to the ceiling. Breathing in, exhaling. So once more, we're going to go down to the floor and again do something slightly different when we get there. So, hands in prayer pose. Again, we're going to exhale, take the arms up, do a little bit of reaching here. Oh, one arm and then the other. Shifting the weight over one leg and then the other. And then from here down into your forward bend. And from your forward bend, when you've had a breath or two, big hand prints walking forwards into dog pose. Having a few breaths in dog. And then from dog down onto hands and knees. So on hands and knees this time, we're going to come back to our tail wagging. So you could do what we did a while ago, imagining you have a tail and wagging it from side to side. If your lower back feels at all tight, you could be rounding your back a bit as you do that. And you can also do a bit of little fishes. So by swinging your lower legs from side to side, that takes your pelvis from side to side. So just makes the same movement happens, but in a slightly different way. Okay. Maybe just sit back for a moment, give your hands a little shake out. And then we're going to use that side bending movement to take us forwards and back into face up dog and child pose. So you need to be in a slightly longer hands and knees position. So if you look at me, my hands are further forwards than my shoulders. And we're going to be swinging our pelvis from side to side, going back into child pose, and then swinging our pelvis side to side, forwards into face up dog in your own time, which is rather nice. So we're using this tail wagging movement. Good, to take ourselves forwards and back. Well, I hope it's rather nice. So I think I would really encourage you in this one to check that what you're doing does feel pleasant in your body. And it's a way of sort of sneaking yourself into face up dog. So we're wagging the tail from side to side, all the way back into child pose. We're moving a bit like a snake, maybe. I always think about snakes moving in the desert. Not sure why. That's where we see them on those wildlife programs. These side to side movements they make as they travel. So our spine is snaking to the right and to the left, and it's the pelvis that's taking us there. Whenever you've had enough, do snake yourself all the way back into child pose and have a few breaths. Yeah, so just really give yourself a little bit of time in this child pose to have a few breaths, or kneeling if you prefer. Very nice, just settle in child or kneeling, and just see if you can connect with your breathing. Can you feel the breath coming in? Can you feel the breath leaving you? Sarah, you've frozen in face up dog, but I'm assuming you're not. You're not still in face up dog. So be a very long face up dog otherwise. So
I'm having a lovely child pose.
Oh good, I'm pleased to hear it. So it looks like a very nice face up dog, but face up dog marathon. So we're going to come back up into standing from whenever you've had enough in child pose. So one more time, it's going to be plank pose, dog pose, forward bend. So We can really think about how we bring our hands to rest on the floor, big hand prints, the wrists beneath the shoulders. We lengthen one leg and the other leg back into plank, and then we just really try to feel ourselves. This long line from the shoulders to the heels stretching away. Then we start to feel the abdominals doing their work here. Also making it a bit hard for us to breathe really fully. And then from plank pose, we can exhale, we can send the pelvis up and back into dog. You might then want to walk the feet in a little bit and see how this dog pose feels. Do you want to bend your knees? Can you let the shoulders soften as much as possible? Can you rest through your arms? And then you're going to start to walk your hands in towards your feet until all of your weight ends up in your feet, and you could easily bring your hands off the floor. Let your head go, let your arms go. Let a breath come in, let a breath leave you. And then we're going to roll up into standing, touching the backs of the hands together. So rolling all the way up, touching the backs of the hands. Up into standing, let a breath come in. As you exhale, take your arms out and around. Good. And then let's have a little bit of a shake out in standing. So, as I promised, we're going to do a little bit more of thinking about our feet, the rest of ourselves coming into some standing balances. And we're going to start by a little bit of walking along the mat. So you can start at one end of your mat. You're going to slowly walk up your mat, feeling your feet on the floor. So you can walk to the end of the mat, and then we can walk backwards to where we started again. So perhaps, and look forwards rather than down at your feet. So sometimes maybe it's easier to feel our feet when we're not looking at them. We can walk back, and then we can walk up again. So again, find a point to look at on the wall in front of you. So you can then walk without looking at your feet and feel your feet. So go slowly enough that you can feel them on the floor. And then go backwards again. So slowly enough that we can drop our awareness down into our feet. It's like a little mini walking meditation. Good. Very nice. Eventually, you could do that one more time, and you could do it with your eyes closed if you felt so inclined. That can make you feel quite wobbly though. You might have to go much slower. So it's up to you if you want to walk up your mat with your eyes closed. And it is very helpful for really feeling the feet on the floor and making you slow down if your tendency is to be rather speedy in all things. Wrong with being speedy, but it's also good sometimes to slow down, to feel. Okay, so walking backwards up the mat with the eyes closed is, at least for me, quite a challenge. I have to go super slowly. And so eventually I'd like you to end up where you started, which was at the end of one mat with the sort of length of the mat, facing you. Because now we're going to walk up the mat and we're going to see how it feels to bring our weight onto one foot. And I think we'll count our paces so we bring our weight onto our right foot. So what I'd like you to do now, and again, try to look forwards rather than down, is step forwards with your right foot, 1, left foot 2, right foot 3. And this time, can you just then skim your left foot on the floor a bit? Now, you could do this by bending your knee and really sort of kicking, couldn't you? But could you do it by not bending your knee? Your leg is sort of hanging out of your pelvis and stays fairly straight. Okay. Good. Now, turn around on your mat and we're going to walk back up the mat the other way. So you can look at your feet to start with, feet hip width apart and parallel, and then we'll step forwards with the left foot. 1, 2, 3. So we've got all our weight on our left foot now. And again, you could do a bit of this one where you're sort of kicking your leg, bending your knee. All like to make you fall over. And then you could just do a bit of, can this leg hang from the pelvis? Can the foot skim the floor? Good. Let's turn around again and go a little bit further with that. So right foot now is going to step forwards. So 1, 2, 3. All of the weight into the right foot. Let this left leg skim the floor with the knee staying fairly straight. And then can you bring your arms up, but drop your shoulders. Good. Very nice. We'll try that on the other side. So again, turn around on your mat. Look at your feet for a moment to check they're still there. And then step forwards with your left foot. 1, 2, 3. So now your weight's on your left foot. The right leg is skimming the floor a bit, staying long. What's it like to take your arms up, but let the shoulders drop? So you're feeling long from your fingertips to your right heel. To your left heel as well. Good. Okay, come down, have a little shake out. I'll just show you what we're going to do next. We're going to step forwards again in the same way. And then once we've done it, we're going to bring our hands onto our pelvis. And we're going to explore this one when we tip forwards. And if you're feeling steady, you can bring the opposite arm forwards, which will be the right arm, because we're standing on the right leg. Opposite arm to the back leg. Okay, so with your mat in front of you, stepping forwards with your right foot. So 1, 2, 3. Weight onto your right foot, bring your hands onto your pelvis. So what we do here is catch this backwards tilt, swing of the leg. And as the leg swings up, we let our body tip forwards in response. And if you want to, you can then reach forwards with your right arm. So we're breathing ourselves long from our fingertips through to our back heel. Right fingers to left heel. Nice. Sometimes these ones are just for a moment or two, we catch it. If you do take your arm up, you're trying this, it's quite challenging. You're trying to keep your arm by the side of your body. So if you find you're looking at your arm, it's gone a bit low down. Let's try on the other side. So looking forwards at your mat, stepping forwards with the left foot. 1, 2, 3. Good. And then got a hand on our pelvis. Our right leg is swinging a little bit. We're going to let the right leg tip back. We're going to let our body tip forwards in response. And if we want to, the left arm can come up. So we're long from the left fingertips through to the right heel, breathing ourselves long. Lovely. Coming down and having a shake out. I want us in a moment to do one more version of that. You'll be thrilled to hear. But first of all, we're going to go down into a forward bend and maybe a squat if your lower back would like that. So sometimes these ones, when we lift one leg, they can put a bit of a strain on the lower back. So it's really good to really sit and lengthen it out. So we're going to roll down into your forward bend. And you're going to keeping your feet as much as possible parallel, hip width apart. You're going to bend your knees forwards over your feet. And if your heels come up, it would be nice to stay here. You can slide your block, your book, you can roll up your mat under your heels. Just whatever helps you to be able to stay in the squat, letting the pelvis drop. So the squat is just such a good place to find some length in the lower back. In many countries in the world, this is how people sit to eat and yeah, to work and do all sorts of things. So really, yeah, good for us to do on a regular basis. So we're going to come back into standing from our squat. So it's probably good at this point to come forwards onto the balls of your feet, slide your support out from under your heels. And then we'll come out by going into a forward bend. So from here, start to send your heels down and your sit bones up. You come into your forward bend, you roll up into standing. And you have a little shake out. So I thought we would do a slightly different way into that balance, which again is related to walking. So from starting with your feet hip width apart and parallel, so have a look at your feet, you're going to step your right foot forwards. So it's like it's a walking pace, so we all know this one. And then we're going to do some silly walking, not silly walking, but this one first of all. So the weight comes into the heel of the front foot, all of the back foot. So perhaps it's like we're going on a walk, but we're not getting anywhere. Nice. Then we can do the other one, which is where we don't move the feet, but we bend one knee and then the other knee. So equally strange. So this is where we're stuck in the mud or on a road that's just been tarmacked. And eventually I would like you to end up with your front knee bent and your back leg straight. Maybe at this point I'll show you the possibilities. So you could just be standing here getting really rooted. So from here, we're going to see how it feels to come forwards to here, both knees bent. Then we can start to lengthen out the back heel. And we could take the arms out to the side. And we could even take them forwards. So yes, Rashmi, and this is why I was thinking with you three were all in the same room, it was going to be a bit of a struggle to do these, but as you've got a bit more space now. So first point was to bring the hands to prayer pose, your back leg straight, your front knees bent, and then shift your weight into your front leg, and you can bend your back knee as well. So in this slightly sort of like a cartoon running position. And then we start to reach back with the back leg heel. And that leg straightens out maybe, as does the standing leg. And then what would it be like to take the arms wide to your side? That might help you feel a bit more steady. And if you feel steady, you can reach your arms forwards by the sides of your head. And by that point, you might think, oh, I've had more than enough by that point. So, very nice, beautiful. Oh, come back down, have a little shake out. And we'll do it all on side 2. So, back 2 feet being side to side, stepping your left foot forwards now. Do a bit of our little funny walking things. So, this is all about helping us to drop down into our feet. So we can feel our feet on the floor. We can do a bit this one, bending one knee, this strange one, and the other. And then eventually we'll end up in this place where our front knee's bent, our back leg straight, our hands are in prayer pose. And then how does it feel to come forwards, to shift all of your weight onto that bent front leg, and your back leg comes up and bent as well in this sort of cartoon running position. And then as you exhale, you can start really reaching your back heel back. Reaching your back heel back. Good. Maybe the arms come out to the side. A bit like you're flying, and maybe the arms come forwards from there. Well, often one side feels very different to the other. I was thinking, oh, that was my hard side. To have a little shake out. Well done, everyone. Beautiful. Oh, lovely, Elaine. Very nice. Wonderful. If you've done that on both sides, you'll be relieved to hear that we're coming to the back of the mat. We're going to be going down through a forward bend, one last dog pose into child pose, and starting to be nearer to the ground. So when you're ready, from standing, rolling down into a forward bend. If you feel that your back would benefit from a bit more squatting, you could add in a squat at this point. And when you're ready, then you can walk your hands into dog pose and fold on down into child, and yes, enjoy the feeling of being down on the ground. Or in kneeling if you prefer. So again, you've got these choices, kneeling or child pose. Somewhere where you feel quite a lot of your body in contact with the floor. And can you come to the feeling of the breath within your body? Very nice. So wherever you are, however you are, just feeling the points of your body in contact with the floor. So whether you're in kneeling or child, it's going to be the front of the shins and the ankles and the tops of the feet. If you're in child, you're also going to feel your hands and your forearms and your elbows on the floor and your forehead. Let's just have 2 or 3 more breaths in child pose if that feels okay. Just as much as possible, allowing yourself to be absorbed in the feeling of the breath in your body. And from child pose, we're going to actually slither forward onto our bellies. So if you're feeling that your knees need to lengthen out now, you're going to slither forward onto your belly. So slither forwards onto your belly, and if it's comfortable, lie with one hand on top of the other and your forehead resting on your feet. And give your pelvis a wiggle. So I always find when I come to lie on my belly, this is where I suddenly sort of start to really feel that my breathing is feeling expansive. So give the pelvis a little bit of a wiggle, settle on your belly. See how it feels to breathe here. And we're going to do a couple of movements on our belly, and then we're going to come back into child pose, and we're going to repeat the movements. So they're quite simple and familiar, so I will talk you through. So the first thing I'd like you to do is, so you've got your forehead on the back of one hand and your forearms on the floor. So all I would like you to do is exhale, sink into your forearms and your elbows and lift your forehead away from your hands. And see if you can feel the movements happening in the muscles of the upper back. And so as you lift your head, your gaze travels forwards on the floor, but you want to keep the feeling of the back of the neck being long. So if you look too far forwards, the back of your neck might get a bit scrunched up. Just do this a few times as you exhale, lifting the head, sinking down into your forearms. And of course, yes, the upper part of your chest comes away from the floor a little bit more as well. Now, let's try the same movement with the arms down by the sides of the body. So the forehead comes onto the floor now. Your arms are by the side of your body. And as you exhale and lift your head, you can reach up and back behind you with your arms. So the arms help in a different way now. And in this one, you could also, once your upper body and your head have lifted, you could also try lifting your legs a little bit. That's it. So the arms are by the side of the body. As you exhale and lift your head, you're reaching your arms up and back. So your arms are the wings of the locust. That's it. That's it. Good. So maybe try that once more. Exhaling, letting the head lift, reaching up and back with your arms, keeping your gaze somewhere on the floor in front of you. So you don't want to overdo it in the neck. Very nice. If the legs lift, then yes, you can do that. You could do that one more time and then fold back into child pose. And we'll just try these all again in a moment. So fold into child, have a couple of breaths. If anyone wasn't quite clear what we were doing, you could look at me for a moment and I'll show you just before we do it again. So, and in fact, we will do, this time we will do the one where we tilt the legs from side to side. So otherwise, if you're looking at me, we're pressing into the forearms with the forehead starting on the hands. Quite simple. And then we're also starting with the arms down by the side of the body. We're reaching up and back with the arms. And maybe the legs are floating up too. Okay, so come back onto your bellies. And yeah, come back and settle on your belly. And first of all, this time on your belly, you're going to do so you have your hands in the same organisation. So one hand on top of the other and your forehead resting on the back of your hands. Now this time to start with, bend your knees and bring the soles of your feet towards the ceiling. And then you're going to tilt your lower legs from side to side. So tilt your feet from side to side. That's it, very nice, good. Lovely. Beautiful, that's it, good, very nice. Rest your head down, Rashmi, on your hands. That's it, good. Okay, then bring your legs onto the floor and just see if you can let your legs be very heavy. Just give the legs to the floor. And then that first movement, very simple. We're just lifting our head away from our hands. So as we exhale, we're sinking into the forearms and the elbows. We're lifting the head. We're trying to feel the muscles in the upper back are helping in this movement. We can do this a few times. And then we can try the other one where we bring our arms down to the side of our body. And so as we exhale, we're lifting the head, we're reaching up and back with the arms, and we may be also letting the legs float off the floor, but the legs stay long and straight. And we come back down. So as we exhale, that would be when we move into these little, what we call prone back bends. Good. Very nice. And if your lower back doesn't feel happy in this, it's a sign usually that you're doing too much. Yeah, so just do less. Okay. Let's do that. Sometimes it makes it more comfortable if you lift the legs. Sometimes it's less comfortable. You'll be very pleased now because from here you get to roll over onto your back. So you're going to try to roll from your belly onto your back without getting up. Unless you need to have a drink of water. So roll from your belly onto your back. Oh, and it feels very nice to be on your back. Always feels nice to be on one's back. So, usually. So yes, lying down onto your back and just arriving on your back and asking your body what it would like to do once you're there. And yeah, whatever it feels. So in terms of what would your body like to do, it's like, do you want to lie with your knees bent or your legs long, or do you want to fold your knees into your chest? Yes, some of you are rocking with your knees, your feet standing, your feet on the floor, tilting your knees. That's a nice option. That was in my on my little list of what we will do in a moment. So we're going to do a few movements on our backs, and then we're going to do some breathing on our backs as well. Because we've been quite lively in standing up, so I thought, yeah, lying down now. So once you've done all the things you want to do, settle onto your back with your knees bent and your feet standing on the floor. So I've been trying to think about all the benefits of doing yoga online, as opposed to feeling sad that you're not all in my living room. And so one of them is that I think it takes away the element of competition because you can't see anyone else. So you're hopefully not comparing yourself to, well, you can't compare yourself to your neighbour because you're in your own room, largely on your own. The other thing I was thinking that's really nice is sometimes I get to hear bird song, not just from my house, but from your houses too. So that's a real plus as well. So with your feet standing on the floor and your knees bent, come to that movement of tilting your knees to the right and to the left. So that we did right at the beginning of class. So hopefully this is this sort of soothing, familiar movement that just helps us to settle. Very nice, looks beautiful. And we're then going to do some rocking movements for the upper body. So it's up to you whether you keep your knees bent or you lengthen your legs out. If you keep your knees bent, then you're going to just have to work a little bit harder not to let your pelvis move. So if it's comfortable to lie with your legs long, you might as well do that. But Nigel, I think definitely lie with your legs long. So we're going to do the movement where you take your arms up towards the ceiling and you touch your hands together in prayer pose. That's it, good. Lovely. So touch your hands together in prayer pose, your elbows are straight, your hands stay stuck together. You've made a triangle with your arms. You're going to start to rock across your upper back. That's it. So rock your arms to the right and to the left and let your head move with your arms. But Rashmi, make sure your hands don't slide on each other, yeah? So you stop. So if you get so far that your elbows are bending or your hands are sliding, you've gone too far. Good. You're trying to try. That's nice. Very nice. Well done. Good. So you're rocking side to side across your upper back. In this sort of rhythmic movement, you let your head go in the same direction as your arms. If your knees are bent, you're not letting your pelvis and knees move. Okay. Good. We're going to do this a couple of times. So whenever your arms start to feel a little bit tired, let them rest. So I find this is a really helpful movement. Well, it's helpful for loads of things. Releasing tension across the shoulders if you're doing a lot of working from home on computers. It's also really helpful, I find, for feeling myself. So rest your arms now if you haven't, because usually I feel stiff in my shoulders. So when I come to this movement, I usually feel lots of stiffness that I'm trying to release. So when you come back to it in a moment, we're going to do a slightly different variation. So if you start, just like we did, taking your arms up towards the ceiling and your hands are immediately over your chest, and start rocking from side to side like that. And then if you look at your hands, make sure your head is rolling. You can start to bring your hands a bit lower down so they're more over your belly. And feel how that shifts where you're rocking. And if you start to bring your arms higher up so they're more over your head, that again shifts where you're rocking across your upper back. So just have a little bit of a play around with moving your hands up more over your head and then up, down more over your belly. And see, I find this one really helpful if to just try and get into those stiff places. So sometimes if where I'm feeling really tight is across the upper back, then this is really helpful for getting there. Good. And then again, whenever you've had enough, release your arms. And rest the arms beside you. Let a breath come in, let a breath leave you. And that rocking movement, again, I also find is really helpful for the next thing we're going to do, which is a bit of rolling up and down into bridge pose. So I'm, again, often quite tight in the upper back. And if I do a bit of that rocking, it maybe helps me feel I can roll a little bit more of my spine off the floor. So when you're ready, you're going to organise your feet for bridge pose, very nicely organised feet, Nigel. And then you're going to See how it feels to press down into your feet, to let your pelvis tilt away from the floor, and then picking up some of your spine. And yeah, rolling up and down 2 or 3 times into bridge pose. Good. Rashmi, make sure your feet are quite close into your bottom. I think they might, yes, and a little bit wider apart. That's it. So the feet, that's nice, lovely. Good. Yes, Linda, I wonder whether your feet could be a teeny bit wider apart. And I can't really tell from here, but sometimes you have your feet a bit close to your bottom. So it might just be worth checking. I can't tell from this angle at all. That's it, good. Okay, maybe do one more bridge pose, because then I want us to do something else, lying down still, and then come back to bridge pose. One more bridge pose, that's it, Rashmi. Try and feel really supported through your feet. So bridge pose is about really planting down through the feet, and then the pelvis can feel steady and stable. Good. Okay, so when you come down from this bridge pose, you're then going to interlink your fingers around the back of your head. So bring your hands around the back of your head, interlink your fingers. And then what I'd like you to do is lift your head, gather your elbows in, and look between your legs. And you could tip your tailbone off the floor. So the middle of your back presses onto the floor. It's a little mini sit-up. Come back down. Do the same thing again. And if it's comfortable for you, so Nigel, you might not want to do this one. You could then let your feet come off the floor. So you're bringing your knees towards your forehead. And also stretch into your feet as you're doing that. Come down one more time. Bring your feet all the way to the floor. Rest your head down. And try that one more time. So lifting the head, drawing the elbows in. If you want to pick your feet off the floor, you can gather your knees towards your elbows and stretch into your heels and your feet. And then let all of that go. Come back down. I'm going to mute everyone now because it's getting a little bit noisy. Come back down and come back to bridge pose 2 or 3 times. Okay, so how does it feel 2 or 3 more times to roll back into bridge pose? And what we're thinking about in bridge pose is just trying to, yeah, feel that the spine is fluid. We're rolling up and down, feeling supported through the feet. Very nice. Lovely. Yes, that looks very nice. Good. And when you've done 2 or 3 bridge poses, you can then fold your knees into your chest and just do a little bit of rocking from side to side. Very nice. Beautiful. So we're going to settle down now and do some breathing on our backs, bringing our attention to the breath and some different parts of our body. So if you wanted a blanket now, what else might you like? If you wanted, sometimes it's nice if you want to lie with your legs long to put cushions under the back of your knees. That could be nice. I've got you muted for the moment. So yes, so put on warm things and then settle yourself down however you would like to lie down. And once you're settled on your back, and take your time, maybe the first thing you could do is just a little bit of rolling your head to the right and to the left. Yes, and if you're lying with your knees bent, very nice to tilt your knees from side to side. If you're lying with your legs long, it might be quite nice a couple of times just to stretch into both heels. It's a bit like we were doing. That's it. Stretch into your heels, spread your toes, and then let the legs go. So stretch into your heels. You feel the muscles in the front of the legs tighten, and then you let your legs go. Good, good. It's also nice for the lower back, that stretching the heels away. And then I'd like you to settle down, first of all, bringing your hands quite low on your belly. So you've got your hands, the palms maybe on the bony rim of the pelvis you can feel, and the fingers going down towards the pubic bone. So your hands are beneath your belly button. You've got the hands low on the belly, and just let yourself settle there. And we're seeing what we can feel. So maybe we feel the belly responding to the breathing. We maybe don't, and there's no right or wrong about it. So the hands feel the belly, and they feel any movement going on there with the breathing. But the belly also feels the warmth and the weight of the hands. And this weight of the hands on the front of the body is very settling, calming, reassuring. It helps us to feel ourselves. Yeah, it's what this morning has all been about. Let's have another breath or two with your hands in this position. And then from here, you're going to slide your hands up a little bit and out a little bit. So your hands are coming to your low side ribs. And your thumbs can either be going around the front of the ribs, or you could have your thumbs going around towards the back. It's up to you. Just make sure you're comfortable. And then see what it feels like to focus in on the movement of the breath here. So as your breath comes in, can you feel these low ribs widening into your hands? And as the breath leaves you, can you feel these ribs narrowing a little bit, softening a little bit? And we want to give the breath plenty of time and space. So as the breath comes in, we give it the time and space to travel deep within us. And as the breath leaves us, we give it the time and space to leave slowly, quietly, gently, emptying us out completely. And then from here, you're going to bring your hands right up to the upper part of your chest, just beneath your collarbones. So you want to keep your elbows on the floor, but bring the hands right up to the top of the chest and rest them there, and see how does it feel to tune into your breathing here. So sometimes I find here the breath can feel very lovely and light. And there's maybe also a feeling of widening out into the top corners of the rib cage. So you can maybe feel wide between the shoulders as the breath comes in. And as the breath leaves you, the breastbone softens and falls back.
As the breath comes in, the breastbone rises gently and then falls away again with the next out breath. So, just for the next minute or so, I'd like you to choose where you have your hands. And it could be that you want to rest your arms on the floor beside you now. Or it might be that you want to go back to one of the other positions we were lying with. So it's completely up to you now what you would like to do. Just rely quietly for another minute or so. Just noticing what you feel. And it's usually easier to feel our body in movement, but you might feel your skin here, particularly the bare skin. You might feel air on your skin. You might also feel the points of your body that are in contact with the ground. The back of your head, the back of your shoulders, some of the back of the rib cage, and maybe some of the vertebrae, the back of the pelvis. And then depending on how you have your legs organized, maybe the soles of the feet, maybe some of the back of the legs and the heels. And then the breath. Where do you feel your breath in your body? How does it feel? And in the next few moments before I ring the bowl, just see if you can let yourself be absorbed in the feeling of your breath in your body. So take your time, maybe before you come off your backs, just ask your body what it would like to do now, and you can do any little movements that would feel good. I'm just going to say thank you. I'm going to stop recording and then unmute you.